All right then. So as I said, good morning, good everyone. For some of the people that are either in Europe or in the US, welcome to this webinar co-organized with our partner Wallboard. My name is Florent, sales manager at Mapwize, and I'm super thrilled to be explaining you the challenges that we can see inside buildings. So the reason we brought you here today is to help answer some of the questions about what's happening within buildings so far. How and why could we benefit from indoor mapping? In other words, why is indoor mapping, indoor wayfinding a must-have in today's society? So to help answer those questions, we actually provided and programmed a specific specific agenda for to help and tackle those issues. The first one being a presentation of the Mapwize platform as a SaaS solution, also the Mapwize company on its own, specific features and tools that we can help provide in times of any type of situations, one of which can be also COVID-19. So in other words, what our response was for this. Thirdly, a Mapwize platform demo, because I do find it more easy and interactive to show you live examples than just slides itself. And then afterwards, I will leave the ground to Alex from Wallboard, who will be both presenting the platform of Wallboard itself, as well as the showcase of what we have been providing for Plaza of the Americas, as to providing actually a platform of maps using the wayfinders of their own company. Right after, Q&As, so no problem for you to already ask your questions and type them on the chat for this webinar. And then afterwards, we are totally happy to share every feedback or opinion that you might have. So before getting into the Mapwize itself, what and how, on average, how much time do you think we are spending indoors? Perhaps 50%, 70%, or 90%? So the truth is, according to World Health Organization, 90% of our time is spent indoors. You might say, of course, your bed, your house, fine. But then afterwards, you are getting to school, university, office, hospital, even shopping centers. And what do they have in common is the size or the complexity of those buildings. Because I'm pretty sure that everyone had the same frustration inside of any type of building. Where the heck am I supposed to go for finding perhaps a colleague, getting to a patient's room, getting to find a specific item? And that is the reason why Mapwize is here on the market. Mapwize is actually a software vendor, a SaaS provider, whose target and mission is to bring in the digital revolution within buildings. And how do we do that? It's by providing a cloud-based solution, so there's no component to install, and that is actually an open platform to help companies, buildings, students, or developers digitize their own indoor spaces. So as a product, consider something similar to a Microsoft license. You pay for the license, you get access to a service-like software for you to create venues. By venue, we mean the building of your choosing, where you can also create and manage the points of interest, i.e. POIs like printers, coffee machines, restrooms. You can also define specific versions of the same building that we call universes, such as perhaps maps for visitors, which are a bit more aesthetic, and on the contrary, something more specific and highly technical for the people from maintenance. Within the same software, you can create specific routes where you can define them according to specific attributes, manage temporary maps with also temporary wayfinding as well, just depending on specific events. You can also organize categories and provide specific routes for specific needs, perhaps use the elevator rather than the stairs. The key features is pretty clear. Wayfinding on its own help anyone benefit from a better experience inside the building of your choosing. Get more visibility for specific tenants or for specific usages, like inside a trade show, inside a shopping centers, showing the logo or specific items and attributes on top of the map will be both helpful for the visitor, but also for the exhibitor. Providing custom maps as well, within the same license, using specific universes and multiple displays. Last but not least, adapted routes is the thing that I just said earlier. Right now, it's more than 120 customers that are already trusting us. It's already covering 5 continents, 32 countries, of course, 650 buildings, and in a total of indoor area of 140 million square feet. Like before, any type of buildings can benefit from mapping, because any type of building do have the same issues. The challenge of wasting time, energy, or simply not finding exactly very nice thing to look at and to just benefit from a better experience within buildings. The building platform in itself is the studio. You can build your map autonomously as well. You do not need to have a diploma in design to create anything. I do remember some of my super nice friends and clients that are perhaps 18 years old, that I can definitely create everything starting from a floor plan that they receive, floor plan from a highly technical drawing like AutoCAD, or highly designed maps like PDFs. Even images can do the work. Those maps, after being created, can be maintained and optimized. Even last-minute changes can be created as well. After the map is being done, deployment. Deployment is pretty important as well, because you can easily display them within a website, perhaps the website of a mall or a shopping center, and even publish them within an application that is handled by an integrator. Within this, let's say, this category of solution, just imagine how to better reach out to any individuals within your buildings. Of course, for super nomad technology and tech-savvy people, mobile devices and, let's say, computers might do the trick. But for other types of people that do not want to install any application, perhaps the best is Wayfinders or super huge touchscreens. Just for you to reach out to those individuals will just optimize the in-app experience. This platform that we provide is not only for maps and visitors. It's also an open platform. Consider, let's say, an open door that will let other types of technology work with the map. Because we are super convinced that the best way to be smart as part of the building is actually to letting other digital services interacting with the map. Perhaps for geolocation, just to find the blue dot within the building, or perhaps to easily maintain and manage every devices inside, perhaps for facility management purpose, track assets, or even finally get a better idea about which room is now booked, available, busy. But that's not only that. Maps is also pretty important, especially in times of COVID or in times of pandemics. Not only for the visitors still, but just a way to reassure perhaps workers or users navigate safely from point A to point B. How we could react towards COVID or any elements of that kind is the way of displaying specific map attributes as well. Perhaps a map with notifications on daily basis about which room is perhaps clean, not clean, perhaps available, not available. You can locate perhaps your meeting room in advance from specific notifications. Just in the use case of that screenshot over here, it's for a university. Just imagine your child or a friend getting to a class, and just before the class, he gets a notification about a change in the classroom. By having some specific notification like this, Why not also pinpointing the exact location of that class? Another thing, spot specific points of interest, hydroalcoholic gel, perhaps hand sanitizers, or even display itineraries or routes that are here to provide some security about the traffic. People entering a premise might not be the same route being used for people exiting the area. Temporary plans are also key for specific users and some of our customers. Take an example of a hospital. A few months ago, every week, there were changes inside of the building just to cope with the number of people getting sick by COVID. Just depending on that, the area of the hospital changed a lot. Perhaps 3 areas, 3 corridors, perhaps 3 floors just made for emergencies related to COVID. So with temporary plans, you can definitely highlight some specific temporary rules about, hey, this floor is now just restricted for COVID risks, and the other is for emergencies. The conclusion is pretty easy to understand. Get the most out of your building. Building is not anymore a labyrinth. It's not anymore an enemy where you can just waste time, energy, and effort. With maps, you can also bring other technologies related to how easily count the actual, perhaps, room numbers and seats, how to display the availability, or showcase some extra elements related to IoT sensors, and adapt usages and routes per COVID-19. So now, enough of the slide presentation. Let me show you a few things that are a bit more, let's say, concrete. The first thing I'd like to show you right now is the studio in itself. As I said, a SaaS solution. You get access to the platform, you get to a license where you can easily manage your subscription as well as your team. Then afterwards, you'll get some specific terminology: venues, universe, place, i.e. buildings, map versions, points of interest. And for that specific building, welcome to a fictional office, which is actually perhaps a building of the size that is similar to yours, with some exact locations like marketing department over there, restaurant designer's office, legal department, things that are pretty interesting to see and look at, especially if you are not familiar with the building. If you get closer and closer to the building, perhaps why not showing some extra details with extra technologies to locate whether the room is now occupied, clean, or busy, just for you to add extra content on top of it, to make a very user-friendly experience. The process of creating maps starts always with the creation of the venue. The venue afterwards, when created, is needing always kind of a floor plans that are either DWG files that you drag and drop, or PNG or images on top of it. Let's pretend that right now we understand the way to create the map from a layer point of view. The next step is actually the creation of the points of interest, the places. And as I said, points of interest can be rooms, like huge polygons and rectangles like you can see over here. But this can be also some specific icons that might be needed for specific entry points. Just imagine the ATM over there, or even the fire extinguisher. The purpose afterwards is to just be able to edit those resources using perhaps different names, categories, or even specific icons that might change depending on perhaps the country, the culture, and the colors. Now getting to the directions. The direction node is actually some lines that are easy to create and define using some of the few buttons over here. The lines afterwards and the paths over here are also customizable, just depending on who you are or who you'd like to reach. Perhaps if I click on specific paths, depending on specific events, such as major flood, snow, and sometimes work in progress, perhaps those roads are not accessible anymore. or they are one way, or perhaps the other. Some of them can be accessible to anyone, or just only for a very few who can just jump to avoid any hole or stumble across any word issues. And finally, when it comes to, let's say, creating a first rendering of the map, it's up to you. When it comes to display, you can definitely create it either from, let's say, a single URL predefinition. Perhaps, let's say, let me create a first example with a specific language, specific zoom level, and so on. No problem for me to afterwards showcase that on top of it. Or even better, send that through a QR code so the person can retrieve them directly through their own mobile device. That is actually what's happening within our own head office. Welcome to France over here, where Mapwize is located on that area. The specific scenario is the following. Let's say Mapwize is your destination. Okay, fine. Let's say the starting point is the reception. How to be able to get from point A to point B. By just highlighting this, you can avoid any issue getting to the right instead of the left. Countless times do we see people wasting perhaps 10 to 5 minutes because they just took the wrong turn. By having a preset pathfinding over here, people anticipate how far it is from point A to point B, just to think of only major items. Get to a job interview, get to sell a contract, get to just find a colleague. That's not only that when it comes to map though, because maps, as I said, is something that can be beneficial for other types of services. Just imagine the people from management to highlight the daily assignments, or even showcase, in case of a drill, the emergency plans. Smart building oblige. Why not showcasing also displays of IoT data, such as light being turned on, turned off, which room is now occupied versus busy. And in times of COVID, for us, we need to respect some of the rules. One unique entry point, an area to take the temperature, and also have an idea about we do not need to take the elevator if we are not working on the 4th floor. Maps also can be a huge success for events or specific elements that need some visualizations of the tenants and exhibitors. Just imagine the level of customization over here. Maps with specific logos, extra items that will be easy to understand no matter what language you need. Even better, combine and customize the map you want with the logo removal with white label solutions, and even better, interaction with extra technologies. In that case, we didn't know about this integration at all. It just was another gadget the users wanted to have in Estonia to get some interactions like that. Last but not least, map integration within the patient website of a hospital. For that example, this map is definitely embedded using the very nice and very fast to integrate SDK of Mapwize, where the person just needs to focus on one thing. The building itself, where is the starting point, and where is the extra department that needs to be displayed. Displayed perhaps on a website, mobile device, and kiosks. And that is at that moment that I can already tell you that my presentation is over, and I'm happily sharing the ground to Alex, who's now presenting the Wallboard platform.
Not presenting just yet. Trey, do you mind passing over? Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for the introduction, Florian. I definitely appreciate it. So at this point, I should be sharing my display, and it should be coming through. Just a quick little introduction. My name is Alex Van Pelt. I'm the U.S. Platform Manager for Wallboard. I also want to just go ahead and say for the people joining just a little bit late, if you do have questions that do come up regarding the Mapwize functionality as well as the Wallboard functionality, please feel free to ask them within the GoToWebinars questions, and we'll definitely get to them at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on the Wallboard platform. So we're a cloud-based digital experience solutions provider, and we've been founded in about 2012 and have been constantly developing our digital signage application as well as other methods delivering, unique experiences to unique platforms. With that being said, our business operations is headquartered in Dallas, Texas. Uh, we also have 25 plus 25 plus people in our development team working near Budapest, Hungary. We also have 40 plus resellers or distribution partners operating in 20 plus countries in North America, Europe, Asia, as well as Australia. So the Wallboard platform is really built off of 4 key characteristics that we like to focus on. The first one being easy to use, and the main focus here is our user interface. We provide one of the best, user experiences today for not just the content creative teams whenever it comes down to managing your digital signage service, but also for the, your digital signage network admins or managers. We kind of wrap everything all into one CMS platform just to make it a very unifying experience. Now, to kind of talk about that content creation is actually another one of our key characteristics because we offer such a full suite of content creation capability and functionality that's very similar to PowerPoint as well as Photoshop. So inside of our platform that you would have access to, you would also have access to what is called our content editor, which we provide a blank canvas that you have the ability to drag and drop the widgets of your choice and bring them into your presentation. Now, leading into that presentation and building out that information actually goes into the next key characteristic here, which is that we're data driven. Our system makes it very easy to connect live data to your digital signage content presentations. We can bring in information directly into our server and be able to tie that to unique widgets so that we can keep to brand guidelines while also delivering your, data, your live information, your KPI, your metrics that is automatically updating your digital displays. And the final item that I'll talk about is versatility. So our platform allows customers to utilize the newest technologies without really having to overpay. And the major focus there is that we're constantly expanding and evolving our software at no additional cost to our customers. So whenever a new widget comes out or a new functionality, more than likely that's going to be right there in your portal, allowing you to utilize it whenever you need to utilize it. So being a cloud-based platform, you'll kind of see that we actually have a screenshot of what our editor looks like over here on the right-hand side. Don't worry, I will show exactly what it looks like in a live demonstration here in a second. But Wallboard really allows you to build a digital sign solution that really meets your requirements, your unique needs. And with our built-in content creation tools, it's definitely easy to accomplish this goal. Now you can build digital signage out for, your standard approach to digital signage displays in corporate environments or retail environments, or potentially build out custom directory screens, interactive in-store screens for retail, or again, corporate communication, but bringing in live data and live KPI metrics. Now we also have the ability within our platform to bring in meeting room signs and tie them to Office 365 as well as Google so that you can book your own rooms as well as provide your own unique layout for those meeting room signs, as well as other items. To kind of talk about the flow of how our platform comes together is really to kind of go down this list here. So the first one being content design. That's going to be one of those major focuses to really understand and put together the presentation that you want to potentially put together to publish and broadcast and deploy to your screens. And the first step is within our platform is building out that content. And with that, our content designer, our editor has this blank canvas that you have the ability to drag and drop the widgets of your choice and be able to position them wherever you want to because we have pixel perfect positioning. And then also you can create dynamic content so that you're not just stuck to static rotations. You can add animations and styles to it. Now, this leads into our live data and their ability to communicate through means of connections to XML and JSON and be able to bring that information into your content design so that text or tables or dynamic charts are constantly being updated by the information that you are providing to it. Now, once that's all done, we actually allow for content management so that we can take that presentation that we've created and potentially apply it to a schedule or even instantly push it to your screens. It's up to you. We can store and organize it as well as add in user permissions to allow only certain people to access it. And then in addition to that, we're talking about IoT sensor integration, really expanding it past the realm of your simple digital signage as well as your more advanced ability to connect to live data, but we're actually utilizing sensors to create engagements at that point. So whether that's tracking audience measurement or providing AI object recognition, gender age detection, as well as additional sensors that we support, which is about 40 plus, we can actually engage our contents to react to that or have our contents react and engage the sensors. We also allow that interactivity to happen in terms of touch. We can create easy jumps without the need of any type of special coding, to create this, user experience. So I don't have to necessarily have the team that understands full HTML to build out a unique interactive experience. I can do that within our platform simply by selecting certain areas to be what we call jumps. And then finally, all this is really kind of wrapped into the intuitive user interface. As I mentioned before, it's definitely easy to use. It's meant to be seamless as well as kind of allow you the ability to get what you're wanting to potentially get out of a content editor. So Wallboard and Mapwize, one of the major focuses here is, in this webinar is our partnership and what we're doing in terms of integrating with each other to bring to our customers. And that's an easy way to build interactive wayfinding content. So as you just saw with Florence demo about the Mapwize solution and how you have this fantastic studio to create your maps, your wayfinding experiences, what we can do then is drag and drop the Mapwize widget into your canvas in our content editor. And then once that's there, when we connect it to the certain map, we can create points of interest. We can create the wayfinding routes that we need to potentially create that are specific to certain areas, as well as add integrations into that map with search functionalities so that we can actually communicate with that map so that I can develop buttons through the interactive processes so that whenever I press a button, then at that point, that's going to lead me to where I need to potentially go. Now we can also expand out this kiosk besides the wayfinding, but potentially create content triggers, pop-up pages, or information whenever a certain button is pressed. So besides getting the route to where we need to go, we're also going to be getting information that might be pertinent to that particular location or that store. So Plaza Americas. Now this is a case study that we did for Plaza Americas, and so Plaza Americas is a major mixed-use commercial complex in downtown Dallas. So we got two major towers filled with business tenants, and then at that point, those two towers are connected to two lobby floors that host a number of restaurants as well as retail shops. Now, with that, Plaza Americas wanted to really provide visitors an interactive wayfinding and directory experience that was unique to them as well as easy to update. So we were actually able to utilize our built-in data integration as well as the Mapwize wayfinding widget in their studio to really deliver something that met their needs and also provide them flexibility, again, to update, so to make it very easy and manageable. So some of the challenges that they were experiencing was one of them being, I feel like this is pretty common across, the digital signage world. It's a large upfront cost. The previous solution required extensive custom HTML development that whenever the changes needed to be made for routes or if they were having any type of construction or if a certain building got, switch to be a different view, at that point, that would require just this very expensive cost that would come up that they would have to potentially, fund to be able to make those changes to their building. In addition to that, it was hard to update. So there was limited features at the beginning of this, and it had a complicated interface that the Plaza Americas just didn't necessarily thoroughly enjoy, or at least really go to understand all the capabilities that they potentially might have had. And then finally, no flexibility. So this kind of comes into that large upfront cost. There's not really a way to actively make changes to the properties besides what tenants are in what areas of the actual map. So they weren't able to change any of the details regarding that map without that large upfront cost. Now, in regards to solutions, what we provided to them, so custom mapping. Again, Mapwize, you just saw their studio and how just easy it is to put together your wayfinding experiences, your routing, your points of interest, as well as other specific details in a map. We were able to provide them the flexibility to make changes to their map at that point, and basically gave them the keys to their studio that they can say, oh, you know what, this escalator is closed. We need to go ahead and make a change to that particular route. On our end, we were able to provide an interactive directory. And so with data connections, we were able to create connections inside of that presentation and connect it to just a simple Google Sheet that they have access to, that they're making updates. So whenever tenants change, or if the locations need to be renamed, things of that nature, that is actually all done through a Google Sheet, because that Google Sheet communicates between 2 points. And that leads into our Mapwize interactions here, because we were able to, in that Google Sheet, tie in the Mapwize location tags so that, again, whenever they need to make a change to both the wayfinding solution as well as the wallboard solution in certain details, they can change it at the Google Sheet level, and that's going to communicate to both platforms and provide a unique format to be able to get that done. So let's actually take a look at what we were able to do for Plaza Americas and the wallboard system. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to the wallboard platform here, and you should be able to see my screen. This is our web interface. To kind of talk about it, wallboard is primarily a cloud-based platform. So how you access your system is actually through web browser. You go to your unique URL and log in with your credentials, and then you're going to see your portal, which is very similar to what you're seeing right now. Our portal is kind of split up into 2 major areas. The first one being our screens. These are the media players that have the Wallboard application installed on them. And at that point, they're going to be connected to our platform that I'm going to be able to manage and deploy my presentations how I like to. So as you can see, we got a couple that are rotating through live screenshots of what's happening on these devices, as well as the name of the devices and the presentations that are attached to them. Now, the second half of this portal is the presentations and how we build them out. So the first one being our loops. This is kind of our digital signage 101. At that point, we allow just easy way to get your images and your videos in a format to be presented to your screens, and allow you to adjust the timeline or the playlist to how you like it to potentially be played. Up next is our contents, and our contents is where our blank canvas and our very advanced content editor lies. This is where you can get more out of your presentations with the ability to drag and drop the widgets of your choice and place them where you'd like to, as really as creating a unique presentation and engaging with dynamic content like live data or interactivity, and then also applying animations to those widgets so that you have a unique experience that engages your end users to partake in your digital signage experience. And then finally, we can take those contents and apply them to a schedule. So if we do need to potentially have contents play at a certain time, we can do that within the schedules and deploy this schedule instead of a content directly. But to focus on the point of this webinar is to talk about, again, wayfinding within Wallboard. So actually I have a presentation right here for Plaza Americas, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to right click on this to show that we can manage our content. And I'm going to duplicate it to create an exact copy of it so I don't mess up the original. And at that point, I can go into this particular editor. So what you're seeing right now is the content editor in all of its glory. Right in the middle is our what we deem our blank canvas, and this is where we go to drag and drop the widgets of our choice and bring them in here. And then at that point, those widgets have unique properties that I can edit and really make special to how I need it to potentially be special. Now, with that, we have a fantastic new widget that is available for all of our users, which is Mapwize. And once you drag and drop it into your canvas, you'll look something like this. You'll need to be able to connect your parameters, so your map IDs, things of that nature, as well as your starting positions to that particular widget. But from there, you have it connected to your Mapwize map. Now, what I can do to expand upon this, besides just showing this map and allowing normal interactive functionality inside of this area, is I can create, buttons and widgets to interact with that map. So if I have entrances, if I have exits, things of that nature, I can actually create connections within our jump functionality. So if I click other down here and go to interaction, I can actually choose my click type to be a Mapwize action. And then from there, I can choose what type of action I need to potentially communicate to our platform, to the Mapwize widget, and from there be able to communicate. So to see this in a live functioning application, I actually have a preview of it right here, and we can see what this looks like. So right off the bat, we have a simple call to action. So something that is constantly on the screen, and what we can actually have this be is a connection to, say, a loop. So the background rotates between videos or images and just makes it very easy for our clients to update and provide new information inside of. And once you touch it again, this will bring us into the actual wayfinding directory portion of this kiosk. Now over here on the left-hand side, we have legends, and then these legends and these buttons are all connected within this map. So if I click on entrances and exits, I'm going to be able to communicate with the Mapwize platform and see the items that they have labeled in their studio as entrances and exits and provide that on through our software as a result to it. Same thing with stairs or escalators or even elevators. We can actually go ahead and point to those quick locations so I can understand, here are the specific areas that I need to potentially go to. Now, to expand upon the wayfinding in this kiosk is to talk about our directory and what we provided at that instant. And so in addition to having this floor mat, the ability to kind of search for items within the Mapwize functionality and the map legend, we provided our Plaza Americas with a tenant and employee directory. So whenever these buttons are clicked here, this will actually load up the tenant directory that they can scroll through. And mind you, these are all connected through a Google Sheet, so they have clear capabilities to update them. And either they can choose Find on Map, or they can actually select on a particular tenant and be able to see more information regarding them. What employees are potentially listed there, information as to the address, floor, and suite. And then at that point, they can go ahead and click Show on Map. And that's going to bring us to the floor map and actually let us know, where do I need to potentially go to get to that particular floor and move forward with reaching out to that tenant so I can get that information here. To dive into a little bit more in-depth view, we can actually look at the employee directory. And at this point, it's going to be able to pull all the employees information. And at that point, again, I can either click Find on Map, or if I'd like to, I can select on this to get information regarding the tenant and the employee that is connected to that particular tenant. And then finally, I can click Show on Map. And that's going to allow me to get wayfinding instructions to where I need to potentially go. Now at that point, that leads us to our Q&A. So at that point, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them inside of the webinar item. I think it's underneath questions there that you can start to present those questions, things of that nature. And if there's anything specific to Wallboard that you'd like me to potentially cover, I can go ahead and do that. Or if you have questions regarding the Mapwize functionality, please feel free to ask them as well. Florent will be able to answer those best and provide a great explanation of their fantastic product. So let's go ahead and wait a second here. Now,
and if you want, there's also a small poll just for us to have some feedback on how would you like to rate this webinar, just for us to have also a specific some specific ideas about what your views were.
all right, so it looks like we do have one question. So what happens when a kiosk loses internet connection? At that point, the information will play cached. So your presentation will be there. Those data connections will still apply. At that point, whenever internet does come back, the system will actually look back at the server, make sure there's no changes that need to be potentially adjusted, and then continue playing its information. Is it possible to have a multilingual solution? So I think this actually goes to both the question or answer from the Wallboard side as well as the Florent side. On the Wallboard side, we do have the ability to create and provide translations at the content level. So what you can do is have text elements and specifics, as well as a button that will allow those text elements to switch between the languages that you provide inside of that content. So if we're going from English to Spanish, I can easily create a button to tell all of my text items to translate at that point. And I believe that Florent, if you want to go ahead and answer that question from the Mapwize side.
Yeah, sure. That's actually a good question, because lots of our customers do ask for specific languages, not only the, let's say, standard ones like English, French, and European languages, but also some specific and characteristic languages like Asian, like Chinese, traditional Chinese with with special characters. That's also possible to have them notified as well. Recently, we have delivered a project for a Japanese shopping center as part of a prototype, and the map is in full Japanese.
All right, thank you. Can the map be manipulated touch? Yes. So if we were to look at this example here, and I click into it, at this point, if I was sitting in front of a touch display, I could use my hand to be able to zoom in, as well as move around, as well as potentially touch on certain items or even search within the search field. So that's definitely possible at an interactive level. Can this be deployed to multiple displays? Is it a license fee for every display? So at this point, in regards to the Wallboard predicament or the Wallboard licensing, every screen will have a license, but this is the normal license to utilize the Wallboard software. The Mapwize functionality is just an extension of our content editor, so there's no additional licensing on the Wallboard side to use that particular widget. But you will have to have an active subscription and license from Mapwize to utilize their studio and basically provide that map.
Definitely, and adding some extra notes on the Mapwize level. Consider actually the building as the base of the license. So meaning that we do not charge per SDK. So you definitely can create first a map version on the web, then use the available SDKs to deploy integrations for websites, mobile applications that are not the core products of what you wanted to have.
Thank you. All right. So regarding the pricing for Wallboard, the best thing to do there is actually to communicate with our sales team or your Wallboard partner and to reach out. Please email at sales@wallboard.info. And at that point, we can definitely get you information regarding the pricing as well as functionalities and all the additional details that you might potentially need.
And simultaneously, in any case, be sure to receive some extra feedback on let's say the recap of the webinar. So after this session, you will also receive some extra information as well as our contact details. So unless you have other questions, thanks a lot, everyone. It's been a super pleasure to have you all today. And yeah, we look forward to hearing more from you. And before ending this webinar, wishing you also a great time before Christmas, and happy holidays for those who take them.